Palestine, the United Nations World Food Programme confirmed that the flow of humanitarian aid has dropped below 3% from October to date. A commercial airliner carrying more than 60 passengers crashed in Kazakhstan while covering the air route Baku-Grozny. And in Ecuador, a constitutional court judge accepts a habeas corpus appeal and declares the existence of forced disappearances in the case of the 4 children detained by the military in Guayaquil. Hello, welcome from the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Palestine, the United Nations World Food Programme confirmed that the flow of humanitarian aid has dropped below 3% from October to date. According to the figures, only 3 out of 101 requests for food deliveries in the northern governorates have been approved by the Israeli authorities. The Undersecretary General for Humanitarian Affairs warned that the near-total siege of the northern region is raising the specter of famine. In addition to severe restrictions on the entry of food aid, the tightening siege has left some 15,000 people without access to food, water, electricity, or health care. An Israeli artillery has shelled the 3rd floor of the Al-Adwa hospital in the besieged Jabalia refugee camp in northern Gaza as occupation forces' siege of the Indonesian hospital in Bet Lahia continues. The Israeli army detonated remote-directed explosives in the nearly functioning Kamal Adwan hospital in North Bet Lahia, injuring at least 20 patients and medical staff. Meanwhile, also in Bet Lahia, Israeli soldiers forced the wounded and sick to leave the Indonesian hospital. According to the Gaza Health Ministry, at least 21 died and 51 wounded across the region in the last 24 hours as a result of attacks on health facilities. Israel's genocide in Gaza has killed at least 45,338 Palestinians and wounded 107,764 since October 7, 2023. Also in Palestine, hundreds of parishioners gathered in the city of Bethlehem in the middle of another Christmas, overshadowed by the Israeli genocide in Gaza. The mayor of Bethlehem, Anto Salman, pointed out that the expressions of joy during the festivities were limited, for which reason they avoided decorating the streets or putting up a Christmas tree, thus demonstrating that Palestinian people continues to suffer from the injustice of the Israeli occupation. For their part, in northern part of the Gaza Strip, hundreds of Christians attended the Christmas Eve Mass in the Church of the Holy Family. The government of Peru is considering declaring an environmental emergency in the marine area of the province of Talara, department of Piura, following an oil spill on December 20th. The Ministry of Environment emphasized that the detailed reports are being requested from the entities involved in order to analyze the declaration of an environmental emergency. If this declaration is approved, an immediate and short-term action plan will be implemented in coordination with the government of Piura to reinforce the actions already established. The oil spill of last December 20th affected around 10,000 square meters of sea surface in Piura, severely damaging the sea fauna. According to forecasts of the Russian gas company Gazprom, world gas consumption in 2024 will grow by more than 100 billion cubic meters. The company said in a statement that gas consumption increased and stressed that Russia, China, and India made the largest contributions. Gazprom also stated that Russian gas played an important role in ensuring a sustainable gas supply to China and added that it expects to maintain gas consumption in the Asian country. In this regard, energy systems based on natural gas and long-term contracts show their stability, which is especially important in conditions of changing world markets. We now have a short break coming up, but first remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. A commercial airliner carrying more than 60 passengers crashed in Kazakhstan on Wednesday while covering the air route Baku-Grozny. The aircraft crashed on the runway of Aktau Airport after circling the area. The Kazakh Health Minister, Akmarat Alnasarova, reported that 62 passengers and 5 crew members were on board the aircraft at the time of the incident. According to the company that owned the plane, Azerbaijan Airlines, the plane was flying over the Caspian Sea when it sent a distress signal due to a collision with a flock of birds. According to the Ministry of Emergencies of Kazakhstan, so far 27 people have been rescued with injuries of varying severity and taken to hospitals, including 3 minors. In other news, opposition SOS party filed a request with the Constitutional Court to demand that the office of the Romanian president be recognized as vacant due to the expiration of Klaus Iohannis' term of office. The political formation also sent letters to the presidents of the Senate and the Chamber of Deputies of Parliament, urging them to recognize the end of the current mandate. Romania held the first round of its presidential elections on November 24th, with independent candidate Călin Georgescu in first place with 22.94% of the vote and candidate Elena Lasconi in second place with 19.18% of the votes. However, the runoff election, which had been scheduled for December 8th, was cancelled by a decision of the highest national court. And in the Russian Republic of North Ossetia, the emergency ministry reported an explosion in the Vladikavkaz Mall, where at least 1 person was killed and 2 more were injured. The explosion took place in the evening hours at the Alania Mall in the restoration area, causing a fire that spread over more than 800 meters, which was extinguished at 11:15 local time. In statements to local media, the governors of North Ossetia, Sergei Manialau, said that the only victim was a woman who was elected into the street due to the explosive blast. Manialau also explained that investigations are already underway to determine the causes of the incident, since the building does not have gas or preliminary hypothesis of an equipment failure is being considered. And the government of Denmark announced Tuesday an increase in defense spending for Greenland following statements by U.S. President-elect Donald Trump. According to Danish Defense Minister Troels Lund Poulsen, Copenhagen plans to allocate an amount close to 1.5 billion to the new aid package. It includes 2 Thetis-class patrol boats, 2 long-range drones, 2 sled dog teams, and more Danish military personnel in Greenland. Earlier, the U.S. President-elect stated that for goals in national security and freedom around the world, Washington considers possession and control of Greenland an absolute necessity. These statements were rejected by the island's authorities, who responded sharply, "We are not for sale and never will be." And Japan's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Takeshi Iwaya, arrived in China to consolidate collaboration and address outstanding issues. Takeshi held dialogues with his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi as they both take part in the second meeting of the high-level consultation mechanism on human exchanges. The foreign minister went over the possible lifting of the ban on import of fishery products from Japan and the release of radioactive treated water from the Fukushima nuclear power plant into the ocean. This visit follows last November's meeting between the presidents of China and Japan in Peru, where the 2 leaders agreed to make progress towards a strategic and mutually advantageous relationship. And a memo released by the United States National Security Archive has revealed that between 1950 and 1960, CIA agents used drugs, mind control, and other techniques on suspected spies. The memo states that the mind control techniques were developed in the context of the Ultra Bluebird and Archidog programs and included the use of drugs, hypnosis, isolation, and sensory deprivation. In several cases, the experiments were conducted without consent. It also affirms that these methods contributed to the development of U.S. interrogation techniques in Vietnam, Latin America, Afghanistan, Iraq, and Guantanamo Bay. And the Russian government exposed the activities of U.S. biological laboratories on the African continent. Kremlin pointed out that Washington is using the African continent as a testing ground for experimental drugs. Moscow denounced that the White House maintains activities with biological weapons without measuring the risks involved in African states in order to make use of them as military tools. Furthermore, Russian authorities warned countries of the region about their cooperation with the United States, since this implies a loss of their national sovereignty in matters of biosecurity. And ALBA TCP member countries issue a statement rejecting statements made by the President-elect of the United States, Donald Trump, about his intentions to take control of the Panama Canal once he begins his term. Through the social media X, the platform expressed the member states of the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our America People's Trade Treaty strongly reject the statements made by the President-elect of the United States, Donald Trump, in which he threatens to take control of the Panama Canal. And in Cuba, an explosion of great magnitude occurred on the night of December 24th at the asphalt plant in the central Sancti Spiritu province. The fire occurred in one of the 3 tanks used to store liquid employed in the production of asphalt. One worker was injured in the accident and is currently being treated at the Camilo Cienfuegos Provincial General Hospital. The quick response of the fire department allowed the flames to be completely extinguished. Sancti Spiritus asphalt plant is the oldest in Cuba, dating back to 1948. However, it continues to operate with stability, supplying asphalt for paving roads and highways. We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English, there you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back. In Ecuador, a constitutional court judge accepts a habeas corpus appeal and declares the existence of forced disappearances in the case of the 4 children detained by the military in Guayaquil. The judge, Tanya Lur, issued measures of integral reparation requesting that the state continue the investigation to discover the whereabouts of the children. For her part, Lur ordered the Ministry of Health to provide psychological support to the families and ordered the creation of a 5-member commission to carry out an investigation separate from that of the Public Prosecutor's Office. The Attorney General's office also requested that a date be set for the hearing against 16 military personnel involved in the case. In this context, the United Nations Committee on Enforced Disappearances requested Ecuador to adopt immediate measures to locate the 4 missing children in Guayaquil. The demand was made through a resolution that gives a deadline until January 7th for the government to respond to the case of the disappearance of brothers Josue and Ismael Arroyo and their friends Saul Arboleda and Steven Medina. These are precautionary measures that the competent state bodies must comply with in the given period of time. They include the establishment of a comprehensive strategy with an action plan and a timetable for the immediate search of the minors. The President of Colombia, Gustavo Petro, decreed a 9.5% increase in the minimum wage as part of the labor policies promoted by his government. After several weeks of discussions at the labor and wage policy negotiation table, the minimum wage increase was finally defined. President Petro assured that this is a key step to reduce the serious wage situation left by the past neoliberal governments. In this sense, Petro announced the increase from Zipaquirá, where he was meeting with the community.
Entonces, vamos a manejar estas dos cifras.
And I'm announcing here, today, that we are going to use these two figures, 5% average level of growth in the price of goods, and, on the other hand, 2.7% average level of growth in food prices. Afterwards, we are going to compare them with the increase in the minimum wage that we are proposing for next year, effective January 1st. This growth will be 9.54% per.
Meanwhile, in Haiti, 2 journalists were killed Tuesday while covering the reopening of a hospital in downtown Port-au-Prince. The dead have been identified as Markensi Natu and Jimmy Jean, who were shot by gunmen who stormed the hospital, which is located in an area of high violence. According to the spokesperson of the online media collective, Robes Dimanche, other journalists were wounded in the attack and have been transferred to another public hospital. The attack comes amid growing insecurity in the Haitian capital, which claimed the lives of more than 200 people in early December. And in Argentina, social movements held a dinner in solidarity with homeless in front of the National Congress in Buenos Aires. Organizations such as Proyecto Siete, the Union of Workers of the Popular Economy, and the Movement of Excluded Workers carried out the initiative for the 5th consecutive year with the participation of hundreds of volunteers. According to the latter, last year more than 2,000 citizens participated, but this year the numbers have increased due to the economic crisis that the country is experiencing. There are currently nearly 12,000 Argentinians living on the streets in the capital alone, an increase of at least 2,000 more than last year. We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. Join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.